Hi, everyone, and welcome to More Degrees, Less Loans. We are so excited to do this event tonight and to just share with you all of the wonderful things that all of our panelists are going to share about how you can pay off your loans aggressively and more consistently, about how you can get scholarships in order to make sure that you're graduating from undergrad or graduate school debt-free. We are so excited to be able to share these things with you today. And so I'm just going to let you know why we're here. So we are here because student loan debt is one of the biggest issues affecting most of America at this time. And it will be for years to come as we know it. And so we wanted to do something to come together to be able to help individuals to live a better life, live a fuller life, and be proactive about not falling into student loan debt in their futures. So we are going to have Gigi Jean start us off, Geraldine Jean Baptiste, and then we'll hear from Timothy Hill, and then India Prather, and we'll wrap it up with Lawrence Gonzalez, telling their stories and giving us advice about how we defeat student loan debt. All right, so I am going to go ahead and have Gigi Jean have the spotlight. I'm going to go ahead and read her bio, and then I'll bring her back on. So Geraldine Jean Baptiste, better known as Gigi, was born in Haiti and raised in South Florida. She attended Bethune-Cookman University from 2014 through 2018, where she had over a 3.0 GPA, was a leader in a number of organizations on campus, including being the chapter president for her chapter of Delta Sigma Theta on campus, my own sorority. She was also involved in other wonderful organizations, including the Honors College, SGA Sophomore Class Vice President, National Council of Negro Women President, and President's List based on her GPA. She's currently giving back through working as a certified nursing assistant. She'll be sharing with you some of the realities of student loans that we don't always hear about, that she's currently facing, and how she's managing to push through the challenges she's facing towards her success and the success of her family and others around her. First, wherever you are, please place some encouragement for Gigi in the chat, because as a health professional, she's serving in a powerful way during this time. Thank you, Gigi, and I will go ahead and bring her on the screen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Daphne, thank you for that amazing introduction. This evening, I will be sharing with you all my journey and some helpful tips that I've gained from my journey at Bethune-Cookman University. So when my parents migrated here when I was 2 years old. So I am a first generation college student. I didn't have an older sibling to guide me through and assist me. So I was learning everything on my own. So when I finally started to apply for colleges and everything of that nature, I had to come to find out, because of my temporary protective status, I would not be getting federal funding. This was news to me. I'm like, what? How am I going to pay for college? I don't know what to do. I want to be successful. I don't just want to work a regular job. I don't want to stay within the boundaries of what I've been given. I want to go to college. I want to succeed. I want to be a nurse. So thankfully, my first year at Bethune-Cookman University, the institution decided to assist me with some of the institutional scholarships that they had. This worked out, pretty well my first year. And then after that, it didn't flow as much as it did the first year. But I mean, when I got to Bethune-Cookman University, I dove in. When I was admitted to the university, they put me into the Honors College with a few other students, that had above a certain GPA. My first year, I joined the National Council of Negro Women. My next year, I joined, I was the sophomore class vice president. I joined Sisters Incorporated. I pledged to the Delta Alpha chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. I mean, I just dove in when I got to Bethune-Cookman University. I was so excited to be so involved. And I mean, even amongst all of this going on, those institutional scholarships I was getting from the school, it was dwindling down. So I'm like, what can I do to help the school not have to pay so much money to assist me, so I'm not left with such a gap in these balances? So My sophomore year, I applied to live in the Alexis Pugh Scholarship House. If you've attended an HBCU, I've heard that there are scholarship houses with the exact same name on other campuses, such as FAMU. So Bethune-Cookman University offers a male and female scholarship house, and I applied to live in the Alexis Pugh Scholarship House. This housing was the cheapest housing made available to students with over a certain GPA, and it was just a house so only certain students could be accepted to the house. After I applied for that house my sophomore year, I was gratefully accepted. I was so happy. I got accepted to the Alexis Pugh Scholarship House because now I wouldn't have to ask the school to assist me as much because my housing would be less. Okay, I made that move. Then the school, I'm not eligible for work study because that falls under federal funding, but the university offered another program where I could do some work for the institution, like in the admissions department, where I could assist with some things around there, and they would help me with my balance. And I did that, and that helped as well. While I was there, I also applied for nursing scholarships. I was granted some of those. Anytime the university threw out a little scholarship, here's $500 here. I mean, the tuition for the school was $22,000 a year, but I was taking whatever I could get because I knew I wasn't fortunate enough to get federal funding. I didn't get a jump start with a Pell Grant. I couldn't pay off the rest of my balance with a loan. I had to make it happen. I had to figure out what can I do to get these to get this balance work down. So I was applying for whatever institutional scholarship that ran across my board, and I was looking and searching, and I did it. But unfortunately, despite all of this, I still ended up with a $20,000 balance by my fourth year. And when it was time to do my last semester, the school was lenient with me because they knew my situation. They knew it was harder for me to get my balances down. So in the past, they had allowed me to continue and move forward semester to semester. And when I got to my last semester, 4 classes, I applied for graduation. I put in my request for my last 4 classes. I was ready to go. The university turned me down as they were facing their own financial difficulties, so they could not assist me how they previously had. So I was stuck with the balance, and I just was believing and hoping that, okay, let me continue to look for more scholarships. So I started to apply for scholarships such as UNCF, which I turned out to be the finalist for a few of their scholarships. But then when they went to look and see if I qualified in the background work, such as having FAFSA done and things of that nature, they're like, you don't have FAFSA done, and also you're applying for our scholarships, but you're not asking for money for your current semester. You're asking for assistance for a previous balance, and we legally cannot assist you with that past balance. So despite the fact that you are eligible for some of our scholarships, we can't give it to you because you want assistance with the past balance. And I couldn't even ask for assistance with the current semester because I couldn't move forward to that semester. So I was left stuck. I then went forward to say, okay, if I can't get scholarships from a lot of the places that do offer scholarships because of my TPS status and the fact that I needed assistance with a past balance and not a current balance, when I seen all of these things were not working, it took me a lot. It took me a lot to put my pride to the side and put my story out there, and I started to GoFundMe. So I started a GoFundMe, and I shared, and my friends shared, and my family shared, and everybody's like, we're going to give you money. And I couldn't believe it. That GoFundMe raised $20 over the span of a month. I was heartbroken. I'm like, I made it. I applied for graduation. I only have 4 classes left to get my degree, my bachelor's degree. I was just heartbroken that the GoFundMe had only raised $20 towards a $20,000 balance. So I said, it's time to close this chapter. I let it go. And I refunded that $20. And I shut that door. I left that alone. So fast forward to May of 2020, I was added to this group on Facebook, Black Greek Letter Organization group, that had been made to get different members of different D9 org members to come together and raise money for institutions that needed the assistance and HBCUs and everything. So I saw that I was, okay, I got added to the group. And one day I was just scrolling through the group trying to learn more about, okay, what is this group about? And I saw somewhere something about a scholarship. I said, scholarship, D9, let me check it out. So I comment, and I was so loud and wrong. I comment under the post and I say, where are these scholarships going to be available? Because students like me that are not eligible for many scholarships because of my citizenship status and other factors, we don't get these scholarships. Where can I apply? When is it going to be open for a student such as myself? And sadly, they said, this is not for you. These scholarships were being raised for a certain institution. But while I was wrong in that sense, God had put me in the right place at the right time. Little did I know. So then came along a comment. I'm almost pretty sure the first person to comment was Miss Erica. And she's like, Gigi, so let me get this straight. You're almost done with school. You're 4 classes short of your bachelor's degree, but you can't get it because of a balance? Money is holding you back? Nuh-uh. Where can I donate? I said, hold on. I can't take your donation because my balance is much greater than you may think I'm going to say. It's a big balance. So after Erica commented, Tanisha commented, Daphne commented, and these women are like, listen, what's going on? Tell us your story. Is there something we can do to assist you? And these names that I've listed are now members of my team that are currently helping me to fundraise for my balance and my last semester's tuition. And glory to God, with their help and a few others, Brianna Williams, Charisma Lori, Brandy Graves. I mean, I have an amazing team behind me now that have assisted me to fundraise $20,000. My balance with Bethune-Cookman University was $20,126. Every cent paid. Every cent paid. I mean, I am beyond grateful that I opened up to these women and they assisted me as they did. I mean, I apologize if I forgot any names, but I mean, my team has been amazing. They have assisted me, and I have managed to pay off that balance. And thank you, God, for that. And now we are working on paying for my final semester's tuition because my status is still the same. I am still under temporary protective status, which does not allow for any federal funding. And today, this evening, our main topic is more degrees, less loans. In my situation, I wasn't fortunate enough to cover my balance every semester with a loan. I had to take what I had and try to make it work. And I landed with the balance of $20,000. So I wasn't even fortunate to reach that far to have a loan and go forward and move forward and have my bachelor's degree. But all glory to God, my balance has been paid. And now we are moving forward with working on paying this fall of 2020's balance tuition, because my balance is paid. So now we are working on my fall of 2020 tuition, raising the funds for that. Thus far, we have raised about $1,000 towards this semester's tuition, and we are left with about $5,000. So thank you, God, for my team, my amazing team, and all of my donors that I've reached thus far. And now we are just working on raising the tuition for my final semester.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Gigi. We appreciate you sharing from your heart all of those different things, all of those different parts of your story and who you are. So there's 2 questions that I want to ask you. So one is, what is one thing that we can do to help you in any kind of way? And the other is, what is one resource or a piece of advice that you think is really, really big that people need to know as we think about how we prevent ourselves from having loans, or as we try to make sure that we have scholarships moving forward?
So something that helped me greatly, I mean, you would not believe it if I said that, you know, my balance could have been greater than $20,000. You would probably pull your hair out. Like, could your balance have been? Yes, it is true. With that $20,000 balance, I had applied for lots of institutional scholarships to even get it down to that number before I had started to ask for assistance. I received a great number of institutional scholarships from the university. So I would definitely say, please look out for your institutional scholarships and see what your institution has to offer, because little by little it helps. It truly does help. It doesn't matter if it's just a 5,000, 2,000. Apply for your institutional scholarships and make sure you're getting to those on time. I would say timing is a great factor, because had I applied to Bethune-Cookman University earlier, I could have gotten a full ride, but since I applied so late, I wasn't eligible. The window had already closed for that application. So I think timing is everything. When you know what you want to do, you go for it and you try to plan as far ahead as possible and watch out for those institutional scholarships. I would also say another great resource is UNCF. If you do plan on attending an HBCU, UNCF, they have had ambassadors come out and say that they are literally having scholarships sit there because students are not applying. So sometimes, you know, I've applied for scholarships that, you know, just one, I didn't meet that one requirement, but I'll still apply. Like, you know, maybe they might see my story when I put in my essay, and they'll consider me still, even if I don't meet one of those requirements that they're asking of. So even those scholarships, I've qualified as a finalist. And the only reason I didn't receive those scholarships is because they couldn't apply to my past balance. So I definitely think that you should always explore, and timing. Now, as for assisting me moving forward, I have a fundraiser on Facebook. The link to this fundraiser, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, tinyurl.com/help-GG-graduate. That is where you can assist me to further lower my last semester's tuition, which I am raising. We're raising that, and I will give you the exact amount that we have left. We have 20 days left. 20 days. And our goal is to pay off the rest of my tuition, $5,858. That's how much we have left. 20 days. So the link is tinyurl.com/help-GG-graduate. And I have a few other options, but when you do go to that link, you'll see where you can contact me and I can assist you to donate, provide you the information to donate directly to Bethune-Cookman University. The money doesn't touch my hands. It goes straight to Bethune-Cookman University and other things of that nature. So thank you all.
Bravo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Gigi, one of the things that I want to point out too about your story, and I'm moderating on, if you all see me multitasking, I'm moderating on Facebook and on YouTube. But anywho, so I was going to ask you, so I've met other students who had TPS status before, temporary protective status, and some of them feel like because of that, they can't go to college at all. So what was it that inspired you, even though you didn't feel like you had the money to go to college, that you still went to college and not just like community college or another undergraduate institution, but what inspired you to go to Bethune-Cookman University?
So when I first was looking at different colleges and universities, I wasn't sure where my heart would lead me, because I didn't have anyone to guide me. I didn't have an older sibling or anyone. You know, I just went off my own will and looking at different universities. So honestly, me ending up at Bethune-Cookman University was just, you know, I had found an HBCU that I found interesting and I went there. But what kept me at Bethune-Cookman University was learning of the rich history of Bethune-Cookman University, how it was founded by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, me joining all of those amazing organizations. I mean, I had invested so much through my different organizations and really got involved that my heart was there. Like there, I could see no other university. And I kept thinking to myself, if Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune was here today, I could imagine, if she heard my story, what she would say and how she would push me to persevere and things of that nature. So that is why I stuck with Bethune-Cookman University. I just loved that rich history I had learned of.
Awesome. Well, that is wonderful for us. Just reiterating that our dreams can come true for what it is that we want when it comes to our goals, even when things seem like they're blocking us. So thank you so much, Gigi. We appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and bring the next speaker on. Thank you. And we'll be bringing all of our speakers back at the end. You might see my phone right here. But anyway, this is my makeshift studio. But we'll be bringing all of our speakers back here at the end in order for us to do a Q&A where you'll have the opportunity to ask questions to them in the chat. So if there are questions that you're asking in the chat, we have some of our team actually in the chat on YouTube, and they'll be making sure that they're keeping track of the questions for us to ask for the Q&A as well. Okay, so we're about to bring Timothy Hill on next. So let me tell you a little bit about Timothy. So Timothy is a dual master's graduate student in public administration and criminal justice. An alumnus of the University of Central Florida, Timothy earned his Bachelor of Science degree in public administration with a minor in emergency management and homeland security. He's originally from Hollywood, Florida, and attended Hollandale High School, graduating at the top 10% of his senior class. At the end of his senior year, Timothy was able to achieve over $40,000 in scholarship funding. We're going to talk about scholarships, everybody. Woo! And he had the highest amount of any scholarships of any student in his high school class. Tim was also able to obtain an additional $10,000 throughout his tenure at the University of Central Florida. He got scholarships while he was still in college. Okay? Timothy was able to earn his bachelor's degree debt-free, only using scholarships to pay the cost for obtaining his degree. He's also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Winter Park Alumni Chapter, and has served as a graduate teaching assistant, legislative intern, and appointed by the UCF Board of Trustees to serve on the recent UCF Presidential Search Committee. In his spare time, Timothy loves photography, writing, and spending time with family. His favorite quote by President Obama reads, "Never stop believing in the power of your ideas, your imagination, your hard work will change the world." I present to you the Timothy Hill. Welcome, Timothy. Welcome.
Hi, Daphne. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. And thank you, Gigi, for your awesome words of encouragement as well. I hope that you all are remaining safe during these times and that your families will continue to be blessed and that everyone is safe. So today, I will be sharing with you all what it takes to get scholarships and how to graduate debt-free with your bachelor's degree, whether you are a current high school student or whether you are a college student right now as well. You all, the money is out there. Please go get the money. There's so many songs out there rapping about money. Go get the money, y'all, that's out there. So just a little bit about my personal story. So I grew up in Broward County. My mom, she did not have the funds for me to go to college on her own. So I knew that I wanted to go to school, but I had to figure out how I was going to pay for it. So I remember my senior year of high school, I would stay up till 2 a.m. applying for scholarships. So, and my mom, she would let me stay up that late because she knew I was applying to scholarships. But I'll come back to that story, but my first ever scholarship was $1,500 and a laptop. And I remember when I got the call, I was working at the Gap at Aventura Mall, and I got the call while I was at work that I got the scholarship. So I ran off the floor and I went to the back and I answered the phone call. And I literally started crying in the back because I knew that somebody believed in my potential for me to go to school. So that is why I was able to go to school and go to college. But like Daphne mentioned, I was able to obtain $40,000 in scholarship money at the end of my senior year. And there's a couple of resources and tips and tricks that I'll be sharing with you all today. So the first three things of advice that I want to share with you all: don't give up on your scholarship search. Applying to scholarships is a numbers game. So the more that you apply, the more you are likely to get scholarships and scholarship funding. The second thing is, when you're applying to scholarships, focus on your achievements. When people are reviewing your scholarship applications, they're looking at your essay, they're looking at your resume, they're trying to get a overall holistic picture of who you are as a person. And those scholarship essays really showcase your achievements. So definitely keep on focusing on those essays and keep on applying, because the more you apply, the more likely you are to get scholarships. Also, some scholarships may require interviews as well, so you want to keep on putting your best foot forward. And again, that just goes back to your resume, your essay. They are trying to get a holistic picture of who you are. Lastly, on the tips and tricks and the resources as well, utilize your college and financial aid offices. So your college advisor, or if you're in high school, that may be your brace advisor or a high school college counselor. Not sure which terms they use, but those are amazing individuals that can help you with college admissions. They help out with scholarship essays. They can look over your essays. They can give you different resources when it comes to scholarships as well. So additionally, also consider how I was able to get the $40,000 in scholarship money. All scholarships help out. So whether it is $1,000 or whether it is $200, $100, everything adds up. So one thing I want you all to consider is local scholarships. So that may come in the form of cities, councils, community service organizations, public groups, fraternities and sororities. Gigi mentioned that she was able to get scholarships through fraternities and sororities. So definitely there are tons of opportunities with local organizations as well. Also, different companies have scholarships. Those are a little bit more competitive. So larger organizations like Amazon and Microsoft, those are the ones that a lot of people keep going for. But there's still definitely a good resource for you to apply to scholarships. I was able to apply for the Burger King Scholars Foundation, as well as the Ford Salute to Education Scholarship if you are in South Florida. So those are two big name organizations, Ford and Burger King, that have scholarships available for high school seniors. So definitely consider those companies and larger organizations when it comes to scholarships. Like I mentioned, those may be a little bit more competitive, but it is still possible for you to get scholarships. So another tip I want to share with you all is research. So if you are in college right now, or if you're in high school, you can literally go on Google today and type in the name of your high school or the name of your college and put, for example, Country High School Scholarships, Country Creekwood High Scholarships, whatever name of their high school is, and you can see what previous alumni of your school or college has gotten scholarships. So you can apply to those scholarships that previous alumni have gotten, and it's probably likely that you will get those scholarships because a previous alumni of your school has gotten that scholarship. So definitely researching on Google what previous scholarships are out there for whether what high school you're attending or what college you are attending as well. So as Daphne mentioned in my bio, I was able to graduate debt-free, but it definitely was not an easy task. So one of the ways that I was able to do that, like I mentioned, through scholarships, but it's important to also budget. So whatever school you're attending, think about the cost of attendance for the school. So think about your tuition, think about your housing, think about food, textbooks. How are you going to get through the semester? Thankfully, I was able to do that in scholarships. But if you have multiple offers from different schools, really consider the cost of attendance and what that means for whether you have enough scholarship money to pay for that year in school, or whether or not you have to utilize other funding sources. So I was able to budget appropriately, and that was a great tool for navigating school. Also consider different internship opportunities as well. I was blessed to land an internship at the Florida Capitol, and I was able to have a $3,000 stipend to cover tuition for that semester. So definitely internships can be a great way to land scholarship funding for your education. Also think about possibly working while in school. So if you have a job, you can utilize those funds to pay for food, pay for gas if you have a car. So definitely working in school is important. Overall, those are all the tips and tricks that I have with you all today. Please continue to be great. And if you have any other questions, feel free to add me on LinkedIn, or Daphne, I think that we will be providing contact information for us. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you all. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know if there are any questions in the comments. And that is all I got for you all.
Hey. So Timothy, thank you so much for sharing that phenomenal advice. I have a few questions. So one was, when you talk about looking at, let's say, fraternities or sororities or companies, were you only relying on what your counselor shared with you, or was there another way that you were looking up all this information?
I would say it was a mixture of both, between the information I was getting out from my counselor and also stuff that I was looking up online, because I know the information that I was getting from my counselor was great, but I know it wasn't a complete package, and I knew I was able to find more information on the internet. Thankfully, my high school advisor, she was providing newsletters to the high school seniors about different scholarships. So that was helpful, but using the internet along with the newsletters that she was providing was great and encompassing, so that way I could have the most amount of money and researching different amount of scholarships.
Fabulous. Awesome. And someone, Letitia's asking, do we save our questions for the end? Yes, please. During the Q&A, we'll have the opportunity for you to ask questions to a number of the different panelists, but these are good questions. So, and the reason why I asked that question is because sometimes students are only relying on what they find out from school. So you mentioned that it was a mix between school and the guidance counselor. And I happen to know Timothy's guidance counselor because Timothy was one of my scholarship recipients when I had a scholarship years ago. So, and she is, like he said, she had a newsletter. That's awesome. She was pretty awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that information. 2 questions for you before we go into the next presenter. One is, what is one resource that you think everyone should know about, or one piece of advice you think that's really important for everyone? And then how can we help you?
Yeah. So one resource or tool that I would suggest to everyone is, don't be afraid to ask questions. So there are a lot of people who are willing to help, whether that is your college financial aid office, or whether that is your high school race advisor or college career advisor. They are there to help. That's part of their job, is to help. So never be afraid, or don't keep your questions inside of you because you are nervous to ask. There's always someone to help. I recommend the scholarship database called Scholly. Universities also have various scholarship databases. They may post scholarship resources on their financial aid website, so check that out as well. Also, don't be afraid to send emails if you are applying to college to your financial aid office and saying, hey, I was offered this package, but I might need a little bit more extra money to get through the year or get through school. Oftentimes, you'll be surprised, college financial aid offices, they have money just sitting, waiting for students to obtain. And literally, they just want someone to ask for the money, and they'll provide you an extra $2,000, $3,000 on top of your financial aid package that you might have received. So yes, to answer the second question, I am graduating with my master's in public administration and criminal justice from the University of Central Florida. Go Knights, charge on. I'm in the job search right now, so definitely looking at different opportunities in Los Angeles, in that area, to be closer with family, and just looking at various job opportunities. So that is just one resource that I would need right now in my personal life. But other than that, Daphne, thank you so much for putting this panel together, and looking forward to hearing from the other 2 panelists as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. You're very welcome. And Timothy, if people want to get connected to you, should they connect to you on LinkedIn for, just if they know about job opportunities or resources in Los Angeles, or what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, LinkedIn would be great, or Facebook as well.
Okay, great. So you have his name up here. People who are watching, Timothy is ready for you for whatever job you have to offer. And I would say just from his involvement in my scholarship program, he was the highest scorer from all around the country the year that he got the scholarship. He's been involved in the program ever since. He provided career prep and college prep to students who came after him. And my mom still remembers him after meeting him 6 years ago. So he's very memorable. Yes, so definitely consider him for any opportunity. He's really an amazing young man. So thank you so much, Timothy. I appreciate that. Hi, everyone. I'm Timothy Fraser. So I will introduce myself and you so much Daphne. So I attended the State University of School and known to the internship. Hey, hold on. We're having a few technical difficulties. Can you hear me? Yes, if you can hear me. No, if you can't hear me. Can you? Oh, you can hear me. Y'all can hear me. Well, praise the Lord. Okay, great. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm gonna bring India back on, and I'm gonna tell you her bio because you can hear me now. So yes, India. Did you all hear what I was saying about India getting? Okay, you didn't. So what I love about this panelist, India, is that a lot of people say that we can't get scholarships for grad school, but India actually was able to accomplish that, getting scholarships to go to law school, which is I've never heard of such a thing before. But I also know people who were saying that, who have said that if you want to get fully funded for grad school, it's definitely possible. You have to treat it like it's a full-time job, basically. So I'm so grateful to bring on India because I know there are a number of people watching who have dreams of going to graduate school, but you don't know how you're going to fund it. So India is going to help us to understand like how specifically she's been able to get over $50,000 in scholarships to go to undergrad, in addition to, I believe, a full tuition scholarship, in addition to money for grad school. I'm going to read her bio to you. India Prather, Esquire, is a licensed Florida attorney. She attended Wake Forest University on a full merit scholarship and brought in $50,000 in additional scholarships. Upon graduating from college, India joined Teach for America and taught ninth grade math. A few years later, India left the classroom to pursue a career in law. She attended the University of Miami School of Law on a partial merit scholarship and won 8 local, state, and national scholarships for her 2L and 3L years. India is very passionate about working with families to help their children find scholarships for college. Without further ado, I'll turn the mic over to India Prather the second time. Let's see if it works. Hold on. India, hey.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Daphne, for that lovely introduction. Also, thank you, Gigi and Timothy, for sharing your stories with us tonight. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in a single parent household. My mom raised 2 children, myself and my older brother. And growing up, I knew that I always wanted to be a lawyer. And so my mom always told me, you have to be great in school, you have to try your best and be number one in your class. And I also knew that because with being raised in a single parent family, and also in a low income family, I knew that attending college, or my family being able to pay for college would be very difficult. So my mom started me early with scholarships. I won my first scholarship when I was in the 8th grade. It was the Charlotte Bobcats, North Carolina, South Carolina, 60 schools, and I won for the eighth grade writing competition. And I thought that that was amazing. It was an essay. I can't remember what the essay was, but I wrote about it. We turned it in, and I won $500 and got to attend a game, sitting courtside. And I just thought that was the greatest thing ever. I was ready for my next scholarship. I was like, you can win money by just writing essays? This is cool. What I found out, though, was that as we continue looking for more scholarships, it's a little bit difficult when you're 12 and 13 and 14 trying to find scholarships, but obviously most of the scholarships are for those entering their senior year, going off to college, and then, as Daphne said, for those in grad school. So the tips that I'm going to share tonight are the tips and tricks, are the strategies that I did, because what I found out, being successful with applying for scholarships when I was 17. And again, just literally 2 years ago when I was 26, I used the same strategies, same methods, and ended up being very successful. I have it down to a science. And so I would like to share some of these tips and tricks. Gigi said it earlier. The first one is you have to start early. And Timothy touched on this too. The first thing is how to find scholarships. I like to find scholarships first by looking at my demographics. This is the same thing that I did in college, or a senior in high school, and also in law school, my demographics. So I look at myself and I ask myself, what is my identity? And right off the bat, I see that I'm an African American female. So that's my hyphenated identity. I can add more things on there. Maybe I'm left-handed, maybe I'm short, maybe I'm tall. Maybe I like to watch zombie movies, right? So this is my identity. This is who I am. So then my next step would be to go to Google and put in the different parts of my identity. Scholarships for African Americans, scholarships for African American females, scholarships for females, scholarships for left-handed people. Believe it or not, they do exist. There's actually a scholarship out right now, scholarships, write an essay about a zombie apocalypse. It doesn't require GPA. So think about your identity, and that should be your first step, is to just do a quick Google search to see what is out there. The next step is search engines. Timothy mentioned one. Several other good ones is FastWeb, Scholarship America, Education Connection, scholarships.com, the College Board. There's so many out there. But what these scholarship search engines do is basically what I just said. They'll ask you questions about your demographics, who you are, your GPA, maybe your financial status, your parents' financial status. And then what they'll do is they will search the vast web of scholarships out there and narrow it down to you. So if you don't want to do the research yourself, you could go to one of these search engines and allow them to do the work. And then the third way to find scholarships, Timothy also touched on, is your school. When I was in high school, my guidance counselor used to sit the scholarships out on a bin, and I treated it like a job. Every week, every Monday, I was in there seeing, was there a new scholarship? For law school, I became very close with my career professional development coach that they give us. And with her getting to know me and to know my personality, every time a scholarship came through the law school, I received the first email from her. She would always say, oh, I think this is good. Oh, I think this one's good. And that's actually how I won a few of my local scholarships. One of the national scholarships that I won in law school came from a professor. She thought that I would be excellent for it. I applied. I won, and they flew me out to Atlanta. and it was a 2-day conference, and I was one of 2 scholarship recipients. So again, don't overlook your counselors, your teachers, or your professors, even the deans. It's very helpful that you develop a close relationship with these individuals, because when things come across their desk, you want to be the first person in their mind as a go-to person. And these people are also likely to write letters of recommendations for you. When we're talking about scholarships, there are 2 types. There's the financial aid, and then there's the merit-based. So for financial-based scholarships, they usually don't focus on GPAs as a requirement, maybe a 2.0, 2.5, 2.75. What they're looking for in those essays are students that really demonstrate the need financially. And so you really want to write a strong, compelling personal statement of why you need and or deserve this money from the scholarship committee. And you also want to make sure that you answer the question, you tie it back. So you don't want to write a story of like how you grew up in poverty, or how maybe you don't have parents, or whatever the case may be of why you need this money, but you don't answer the question because while you wrote a captivating story, you didn't tie it back. So my rule of thumb is to always say or end your essay, especially for financial based scholarships. And this is why I believe I deserve X scholarship for X amount of reason, and to turn it back, to wrap it up and to bring their attention back to why you are a deserving candidate. Believe it or not, a lot of students forget that final conclusion sentence. And so it's just like you wrote a captivating story and not necessarily an essay that you are competing against other students for the scholarship money. The other type of scholarship is merit-based. So these are going to be your, if you've like the SAT, the ACT, if you've scored really high on them, or if you're number 1 in your class or something like that, these scholarships are the ones that are the 3.0 or 3.5 GPA higher. My thing with the merit base is if you are off by like a hair, go ahead and apply to it. So if it's a 3.5 GPA requirement and you have a 3.49, go ahead and apply to it. You never know, shoot your shot. However, if you're a 2.0 and it's a 3.5 requirement, don't waste your time. A lot of the scholarships, especially the bigger ones, are very strict on their students following the instructions and meeting their requirements. So when you have a large amount of applicants, the easiest way is to narrow that down, is to weed out the applicants that don't follow the instructions. So don't waste your time applying to a scholarship and you know you're far off from one of the requirements, especially if one of the requirements is a GPA requirement. Moving right along, the second tip that I want to talk about with starting early, why it's important to start early, is because it gives you more time to get your information together. You should create a scholarship application portfolio. In this portfolio, it should contain community service hours, how many, when did you do it, possibly who oversaw that project. It should contain your extracurricular activities, your leadership positions, any jobs that you held while in high school or college, or the gap in between if you're applying for graduate and professional school, and also your addresses that you lived for the last 5 to 7 years. Any leadership positions, you should also have a short description. This is going to be your go-to sheet for scholarship applications. And oftentimes you'll be able to copy and paste this information because this is the background demographic information that a lot of scholarships ask for. So having it handy will save you a lot of time instead of having to think every single time where you lived. You just have that sheet ready. Moving right along, another reason why it's important to start early is because a lot of scholarships, especially the big money ones, require letters of recommendations, often 2 to 3 letters of recommendations. And they do not want your family member. Unfortunately, they don't want your pastor. They want individuals who know you on a professional working level or on an academic merit level. So you need to be able to give these individuals enough time, at least 2 weeks, to prepare your letter. Some scholarships require short mini essays from the recommenders, and some just require one long essay. make sure that when you give them this information, you give them a deadline, if they need to send out Post-it, they need to send out the recommendation themselves. You provide the postage. You also need to give them a copy of your resume, your CV, so that way you can aid them. And any other interesting facts about yourself that you want them to know, give it to them. Don't make them work too hard writing this letter or answering the short essay questions that the scholarship may require them to answer. So overall, if you start early, if you know where you're looking for scholarships, and if you have the scholarships, then it enables you to be organized, enables you to go ahead and put together your scholarship application portfolio. Now you know your deadlines. Now you know which teachers or professors that you need to contact ahead of time. Because remember, your goal is to work backwards. If your deadline September 1st, then your deadline for your letter of recommendations should be maybe August 20th, right? So you need to work backwards, meaning that August 20th is the deadline, meaning that you might need to go ahead and start talking to the teachers around August 5th or August 6th to give them that time. You have to think of working backwards. You also want to make sure that you allow your school enough time to get your transcripts. If you need letters, proof of enrollment. So all these things that take time, give yourself that time, and you'll only know if you start early and you know those deadlines in advance. Also, the big money scholarships are the ones that are in the fall. So like August through October are the big ones. I personally am a Coca-Cola scholar. It's $10,000 and $20,000. The deadline for that was, and if they haven't changed, is like in September, and you go through several rounds. I was a finalist for KFC, which was $20,000. I couldn't go with it because I went to a private school and it was only for public institution. But the big money scholarships, Wachovia, I'm a scholar for, well, now Wells Fargo. Again, that was $16,000. It was early in the fall. So if you have a senior, you should be thinking now what scholarships they're going to apply to, because right now, since it's July, a lot of the scholarship cycles aren't open, but come early August and mid-August, they will be open. And so Timothy brought up a good point. Think about the companies out here, companies that you know, 9 times out of 10, they have a scholarship. My mom told me, I ate a lot of fast food growing up. My mom said, you know what? Every single place you ate at growing up, I'm sure they have a scholarship. We're going to find it. We're going to apply for it. I'm a Wendy's scholar. I'm a McDonald's scholar, a Burger King scholar as well. Every single place I ate at, I look for a scholarship. That's one way to start. So in addition to starting early, there's, as I said, several key components there. The next thing that you want to think about is, what do you do when you win the scholarship? A lot of people don't talk about that because, yes, you get the phone call, yes, you get the email or the letter in the mail, but there's actually steps. Because if you don't follow those steps, you may forfeit your scholarship, and that will be unfortunate. So you want to make sure you officially accept it. Whether that's a verbal commitment or a written response to an email. And you want to make sure that you can accept it. So I mentioned that I applied for the KFC scholarship. It was only at the time I applied, I didn't know what college I was going to. So I just applied. But I ended up going to Wake Forest. It's a private institution. So I had to let them know that I had to drop out the running. I was a finalist and I had to drop out because I no longer fit the criteria. So you want to make sure that you still fit the criteria for that scholarship when you go to accept it. It may just depend on your institution. You also want to confirm with your college or your law school the disbursement of the scholarship. Now, for college, a lot of the scholarships like to have the money go directly to the school, just because they don't want students mismanaging it. But there are some scholarships out there that you can, when you win, you can actually ask them, hey, can this money come directly to me? I need help with my books. I need help actually getting to college. I need help actually furnishing my room for school. Depending on the scholarship committee, they may say yes. Some of my scholarship committees did allow me to do that. Now for law school, a lot of them, they understand the struggle and the money is it's a check and it goes directly to you. And for me, that money went to being able to pay for housing in Miami and to be able to help me study for the bar. if a scholarship is being or if the college is being very picky about the scholarship. So for example, when I went to Wake Forest, I got a full merit scholarship. But because I bought in $50,000 in outside scholarships, Wake actually tried to take back some of the money they gave me. And I would have been okay with that. But oddly enough, when they took back some of their money, somehow in their financial aid system, it made me end up owing money. And I didn't like that. So I was able to work with the scholarship committee and have them rewrite my scholarship to where they put the money on my Deacon dollars, which was like a card that I can use on campus for whatever purpose. And then I was able to keep my full ride from Wake. So it pays to really work and negotiate with your scholarship committee. And it pays to just make sure you ask how they can allocate it. And I had my Coca-Cola scholarship, for example, go to me teaching abroad in South Africa, and it paid for my laptop. So even if you have a full scholarship, a full ride to undergrad or law school, ask if the money can be allocated elsewhere. Oftentimes it is. Thank you so much, Daphne.
You are welcome. Can you hear me? Everybody hears me? Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, India. That was wonderful information, but I want to point something out. I know that the people who are watching us, some of them may think that what you said sounds like a lot of work. So let me ask you a quick follow-up question. For people who are like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work, like all of that to get scholarships, if you were to give a brief response about that, what would your response be to that?
My response would be, you have to be in it to win it. So it was a lot of work. It is a lot of work. My senior year, I gave up being cheerleading captain and not cheering just to put the time and energy into applying for scholarships. However, if you do the scholarship portfolio that I said, if you do create an essay bank, it gets easier because oftentimes you'll find yourself taking an essay, taking a paragraph, tweaking it for that appropriate scholarship, and then it gets faster and faster. And so then you find yourself having an essay bank or a scholarship bank that you can work from.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I know that there's a large array of people watching. There are parents, there are young people. I invited some high schoolers here. There's some college students here, some grad students, people with, again, thinking about going to graduate programs. So everyone is really grateful for what I see in the comments, for all of the wisdom that you're offering. And I put this in the chat and the YouTube. I just want to make sure the Facebook people hear this, reiterate it. Everywhere she ate, she applied to their scholarship. Everywhere she ate, she applied to their scholarship, and not all of these places market their scholarships. So if you can do that research, that is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you those two questions. One is, what's one 30-second resource or piece of advice that you think is really important for people watching? And also, what is one way that we can help you?
Piece of advice, start today, start early. I don't care if you are not a senior, you need to create a list of scholarships that you're going to start applying to come the summer entering your senior year. If you're in grad school or med school, law school, you can apply now. There are a lot of different groups that are scholarships are available. So you need to start now so you can get ahead of the game and see what is required of you.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much. And how can we help you?
The second one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you help me? So I have a scholarship company called The Art of Scholarships, where I am always giving away tips and tricks. And yes, on Instagram, it's called The Art of Scholarships. And that's where I give away free tips and tricks weekly on how to find scholarships. I even drop blurbs about current scholarships that are available. Follow me there, The Art of Scholarships. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, maybe you need some help with your essays and writing a captivating story. Maybe you would like for me to speak to you in a group of people talking more about scholarships and how to write strong essays. You can write to me at theartofscholarships@gmail.com. Again, theartofscholarships@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Instagram at The Art of Scholarships.
absolutely fabulous. Let me say this too. This is something that India told me when we were talking just one-on-one before this speech. Her mother was very, very involved in her scholarship process. So something interesting about me, I had a 5.15 GPA in high school, but I still didn't have all the money I needed to go to college. And there are people who had a lower GPA than me, and I love them. I love when everybody wins, even if I'm not winning, I love it. So somebody had like a 3 point something, but had full everything paid, money left over, scholarships everywhere. But I feel like part of that could be parent involvement because India, well, it could be, right? Maybe not, but could be. But something that India said was she wrote the scholarship, her mom would edit it. Like it was a team situation. And you heard her say, my mom said, if you ate there, you had to apply. So parents, I would, highly encourage you to make sure that you are definitely encouraging your students and holding them accountable. And I just highlighted the comment Tanisha just put up. Tanisha's one of the people on our team, the art of scholarships at gmail.com. And I believe the Instagram is also the art of scholarships too. So the art of scholarships. We are excited for all that you're doing to help our students. And when you said that you post free information, people were like going crazy online. So
follow me.
So thank you so much for doing that for us. We appreciate it. So I will go ahead and transition to the next speaker. Thank you again, India. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So this last speaker, people were saying that this speaker they are really excited about. No pressure, but we have Lawrence Gonzalez coming up. And I posted about him having been years ago over $100,000 in a negative net worth. So negative $100,000 net worth, right? And then now over $100,000 net worth is what he has. And he was able to travel to a whole lot of countries. He's going to tell you the number maybe, or I'll share about that another time. But he traveled to a whole lot of countries within a short period of time using his money management skills. So I am going to read his bio, but what he's going to be talking to you about is how do you pay off these loans consistently and aggressively and still live your life as you're doing it. So I'm going to read about him now. Over the past 7 years, Lawrence Gonzalez has served as an auditor for the U.S. Department of Treasury, Office of Inspector General. His primary role encompasses auditing over $4.2 billion of government funds dispersed through 48 unique jurisdictions, as well as financial assistance and international programs compliance. However, his passion is financial literacy. And I can vouch for that because Lawrence and I talked the other day, and Lawrence kept talking about all about how excited he was about finances and people paying off stuff and credit cards. So this is the real Lawrence. Okay, I'll keep going. So Lawrence disseminates poignant financial literacy education with some brevity through articles, resources, worksheets, and speaking engagements aimed at providing solutions to socioeconomic disparities affecting Black and Brown communities. It's all about tackling money, even if you have negative $125,000 in debt. Okay, so Lawrence is about to come on. Without further ado, I introduce to you the Lawrence Gonzalez. Woo!
The hype is real. The hype is real. Thank you for actually inviting me on this panel. I actually felt a little bit, I was a little salty in the back end because I'm the older millennial and everybody out here are like these renowned philosophical students. I'm like, these kids are killing it. And I'm out there in the corner for everybody, I'm like the tail discussion that technically I had one scholarship, which is a Florida Bright Futures 75% scholarship. I messed up and actually lost my scholarship. So in the end of the day, I ended up just tackling on debt and really suffering through. So I'm kind of like the other side of the story where I want to make sure you understand how to pay for it in a more strategic way. And hopefully you get a little bit more understanding and fundamentals that could actually help you over time. I'll be sharing my screen, which is a PowerPoint presentation, and hopefully throughout the conversation will generate a few more questions, especially for the back end of this conversation with everybody else that comes on board. So share screen. Can I share screen? Okay, cool. And it's shared. So it's okay. You guys should probably be able to see my screen. I can't see anything else. So if anybody comes back in and just says, "Hey, can you see the screen?" Somebody say a word. I'll wait for a second. Well, my name is Lawrence Gonzalez, as previously stated. My net worth is I started off in 2012 with a net worth of a negative $125,000. As of today, is actually $311,000. Me and my fiance, from November 18, we actually tackled her student loans as well as her credit card debt. So she's completely debt free. I'm partially debt free. I'm still carrying about $90,000 worth of student loans, but overall, we've been able to buy homes, got a rental, and also travel the world. Last year, we actually went to 12 countries in 14 days, and plus Canada. So Canada is completely out there. So ultimately, the grand total of my mistakes ended up being $30,000 worth of FSU undergraduate degree debt, $80,000 worth of FSU graduate debt, $10,000 in forbearance interest capitalization, which I will discuss what that is because it's imperative. A lot of people fall for this very much a debt trap, as well as $5,000 worth of credit card debt. So overall, $125,000. The promises I make to you in regards to this presentation is that I will try to ease your credit card or your debt repayment anxiety, if you even have one, especially those dealing with $80,000 to $100,000 worth of student loan problems, as well as share with you understanding and strategies and help you start to position yourself overall to win, not just in the debt repayment strategy, but also wealth creation. As an overview, we'll be talking about the need to change as far as even where do we start, and also actionable steps and solutions that you can use to actually get you over these humps in regards to either using apps, savings, tax avoidance, and even some other strategies that I've just learned about the last couple of weeks. So, as we always hear in the news, there's been about 44.7 million Americans have a ton of student debt. Majority of that is actually centralized within Black and Brown communities because we tend to super rely on student loans as well as grants or anything like that, because a lot of times we're coming from disproportionately affected communities and we don't have the money to actually support what we need. So therefore, we actually take on a lot of debt. Recently, I believe it was 2019, the billionaire Robert Smith actually, he promised to pay over $40 million in the 2019 Morehouse graduate class. He ended up paying $34 million, but that on average ended up being $85,000 per student in student loan debt. So the entire graduating class, everybody basically was carrying a lot of debt. Majority of that comes from not just the undergrad, but also the graduates to the loans. So right now, America is actually dealing with pretty much a student loan debt crisis. Is why you hear a lot about it over and over again. Post this situation with the pandemic, what you're going to see is a lot of job contraction. So people that's getting into the workspace, you're going to be dealing with a lot of issues in regards to just breaking that entry, having the opportunity to even come to work because of Corona. So hopefully you're getting through the remote access or anything like that. So that might create some challenges, but a lot of employers are actually reducing the benefits that they're providing, as well as salary increases are getting cut. Luxury activities are increasing as far as price, value, and even taxes are going to increase in 2021. So all these spell out a lot of issues for the incoming class, as well as people that's already dealt with the 2018 housing debt crisis. But now we're dealing with this as well and everything that comes afterwards. In total, the average student loan payments is around $393. Just to let you know, my student loan payment was $730 per month. Based on how much I'm carrying, the $90,000, it just jumps to $730 per month. So there is an issue. Additionally, Parent Plus, I know there's a lot of parents that's going to be listening to this and watching this. Parent Plus itself is a major problem because the parents are subsidizing their students' scholarships, or basically supporting their students throughout college, ending up with a debt on their own, basically pushing back whatever they're doing for their own retirement investment strategy, and also putting that on the students, because at the end of the day, even if the student pays off their own debt, the parents tend to carry that also into their livelihood. So where do you start? I always show people this picture about the tortoise and the hare, because in the end of the day, there are some people that's going to be faster, stronger, better, maybe better students, or maybe have more access, maybe have more resources. But it doesn't matter at that point. You really need to focus on yourself. You need to focus on what you can bring to the table. You need to focus on how you end up paying on your debt, because even the slowest person could sometimes beat the fastest person. This is why I have the picture about the wealth machine strategy. The idea is that you're paying down your debt, but you're actually learning to invest because you're super hungry for this, and you're ending up in a higher position than other people that aren't as hungry. The 5 strategies for student loan repayment, I would say 1, don't get them, because if you get them, technically you're gonna have to repay them. But if you must, do not blow it. Just like a lot of friends of mine who went to college, we'd never seen this kind of money before. We ended up getting $20,000 here and there in lump sums. And some of us bought it, spent it on clothes, or maybe we're spending on housing, but we ended up blowing it incrementally on food. And that became a problem, because even in the end, even if you do need this stuff, you still end up have to repay it, and that becomes a big problem. So it's best to kind of really curtail who you are, especially as you go to college. Pull that together, focus on doing meal preps, focus on working together as a team, and really reduce your spending, because the more student loans you have, the more payments you have to do on a monthly basis. I would also say for, the second one is to avoid forbearance interest capitalization. That means for anything that is an unsubsidized loan, it gets the interest itself gets capitalized into your debt. So for me, I graduated my master's program with $80,000 of student loan debt, but because I put on the forbearance for about a year, it ended up tacking on an additional $10,000 worth of student loan payments, $10,000 into the principal, that ended up increasing my student loan payment. So if you can, by all means, do try to avoid the forbearance. There is a certain 3 months grace period that you have, but really start focusing on paying it down as soon as possible, because the moment you touch that forbearance, it's going to add on and add on to it. I have a friend that he did that for the last 4 or 5 years. He ended up adding on another $50,000 already on top of his $100,000 that he owes. So that ends up being $150,000, and he has to pay even more. I would say, additionally, get educated on the amount that you will owe. So never owe more than the first year of your salary. So that's easy. Going online, figure out how much this degree or this job field is going to pay you. And once you realize that point, make sure that you're not getting way more than that. So if you start going over that in the red per se, just assume that it's going to start taxing you in the end. I would also say find the free stuff online, not necessarily the scholarships, because those already passed, but find things such as your employer. Some employers offer matching, as well as student loan repayment incentives, some things to the $2,500, $5,000, or even somewhere to the match as well. But you can also find the PSLF, which is the Public Student Loan Forgiveness Program, anywhere from, if you're a teacher, a doctor, you work for the government, you work for a state government, those qualify. So if you get on the program and you're making payments for 10 years, the rest of your student loans get completely paid off. That's what I'm on right now. Even though I'm paying monthly, at the end of the 10 years, they're basically going to wipe off $90,000 worth of student loan debt. Additionally, now there's 2 ways that I actually believe that you should be able to really invest to reduce your payments, which is what I've done throughout my lifetime. So 1, I would say understand the short-term and long-term effects. First, smartassets.com actually provide a student loan calculator, which actually shows you exactly how much your estimated monthly payment is going to be. You could put in the percentage rate, and it's just going to pull that up for you. And it'll also show you how much student loan interest payments that you're going to end up paying over a 20-year span. Additionally, anybody that's always thinking about refinancing, just know that the federal, any type of federal provisions that really could subsidize student loans, they do not apply to private school. So those people that refinance the private loans, they ended up not benefiting from the recent COVID forbearance that we had that really applied to everybody without interest for the amount of 6 months. Because people switched already to the refinance, they were not able to actually get on this thing that really stopped the payments for the last 6 months. So nothing beats the plan. So make sure you already start budgeting. Either you're doing the 50-30-20 budget. You could do my budgeting plan. It's called the net max budget ratio. You could track your spending, find ways to save and invest, and then start paying off your debts. I'll get into that just a second with that first slide about the first steps to invest to reduce your student loan payments. Once you start contributing to your 401k, your 403b, 457b throughout the year, and as well as your IRA or your HSA, all of that in totality reduces your AGI. When it reduces your AGI, that's what the student loans companies actually see to reduce your payments. So the lower your AGI is, the lower your payments they're going to actually estimate them at. If your AGI, which is the amount of money you're making, is very high, they're just going to basically say that, hey, you could pay it off. So that's why I always recommend save into yourself, save for your own future, because that's also going to reduce the payments that you have to make. And on top of that, if you add that to a public student loan forgiveness plan, that's going to actually save you a whole lot of money over time. The second thing that I've seen a parent do recently, and I think parents should definitely consider that, if you're a high school student, even a college student right now, start talking to your parents to see if they want to invest in the housing that you have. Some schools like Florida State, you go to the outskirts or even around the area, you could buy a home for about $30,000 down payment, but then your student or your child or your cousin or your friends, multiple other family members could stay at that house, reducing their housing payments over time. So it's not only that your student could go to school, but you could also own this home that could make you a rental property income over time for a lifetime. Easy actions that you can take that are not even student loan related, but they really start clearing up your mind. Just do one hard thing. I don't care if it's just waking up in the morning to just go on 5 or 10 mile run or even bike, or just challenging yourself to read a book. These things open your mind so you can start functioning in the wealth mindset. Wealth mindset basically means that you're going to get into the point where you start generating ideas. You're going to start becoming a little bit happier what you're doing. So you're not actually stressing out about the student loans. So you start paying it more. And I also even challenge anybody to save and invest at least $1,500 for emergencies, so you can still psychologically comfortable with your money behavior, but then you keep paying off your student loans consistently. I would also say for people like me that messed up in school, picked up a whole lot of debt and really didn't know how to pay it, forgive yourself. Don't rush into the new version of yourself, and do not make blind economic decisions anymore, because the mistakes that you made in the past were those mistakes, but it's time to actually move forward. Paying them off fastly, making more than the minimum payment also helps. And also doing the auto enrollment in student loan repayment, that could also save you 0.25%. Every little bit helps, all right? So like I said, yet again, you can also visit all my information. It's always online and available to you on the Neighborhood Finance Guide's website. So download all the free resources. There's stuff for students, there's stuff for parents, there's stuff for couples, and it's all available for you. And that is my presentation. I don't know if anybody actually heard me though.
That was amazing.
Oh, I thought I rushed that. Like, there's a lot to cover.
It was really good. It was really good. And there was a lot of comments in the comment section. I'm sure people are going to have questions too. Let me say this. We have Q&A coming up in a few minutes. If anybody who's watching wants to make sure that you have a question that's answered by us, the best way to go about doing that is to actually go to the main URL for this presentation, which is tinydegrees.com/more-degrees-less-loans-2020 to post your questions. You'll be taken to a YouTube video. And under that YouTube video, all of our panelists are actually seeing all the comments that you post. And I'm able to bring your comments onto the main screen so that everybody can see your question that you ask. We may not have time to answer everyone's questions. We're going to do Q&A for about 15 minutes. So definitely share your questions if you have any questions. I'll also be trying to look at my Facebook Live. That is basically a YouTube video being broadcasted on the screen because, you know, it's my makeshift studio. All right, y'all. So anywho, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. There was something that you said, Lawrence, that I wasn't very sure about. I think it's that 50-30-20 plan. What is that? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay, there's a lot of different budgeting strategies that exist. There's one that's the most popular one. It's called the 50-20-30, which actually says 50% is supposed to go to your needs, 30% goes to your wants, and 20% goes to your savings. Personally, I actually flip that around and pretty much make your savings 30% and make your wants 20%. The more you focus on your needs, I swear to you, they're going to become your wants. that's what opens up every other opportunity for me. I ended up buying a home, ended up going overseas. Those 12 countries in 14 days did not happen just because. It's because the more I saved and invested in myself, the more I created that wealth gap. And I was able to now invest, make more money off of that, and even more opportunities open up for me as well. So once you focus on you, everything else will work. I guarantee you.
Amen. Amen. And what I love about that is that you said you were negative $100,000 net worth. And by the age of 36, y'all, he was over $100,000 in net worth. So I love what you said. Even if you're over $100,000 in debt, you have to be able to look at the things that Lawrence said and forgive your old self. That was good.
Yeah.
As you're saving. So 2 questions I have for you, 30 seconds, if you could do 30 seconds each. So number one, what is one resource or one piece of advice that you have for everyone who's watching that you think is really significant? And the second, and the reason why I asked this question is I do believe it takes a village for everything. And I want to know how we can help you, if we can help you with anything. So it's one way we could help you.
I say one, well, the first one is like the most significant thing I would say is actually go to that smart assets calculator, especially if you're high school, if you're in college right now, plug in your numbers, your student loans, whatever you have, so you could actually know how much you're going to end up paying and owing monthly on the back end. That's going to be significant. It might give you that shock that you need that makes you change your behavior, or it just, it basically opens up your mind as to how much you can owe at the back end. A lot of people are shocked at the end, owing anywhere from $1,000 to $100, $750, $300, especially if you only make all but so much. You're gonna be really surprised at the amount if you just keep tacking it on.
Okay, wonderful. And then, what is one way we can help you? And if you could also restate your website, what's one way that we could help you?
Well, you can always find me on the neighborhoodfinanceguy.com or anywhere on IG as well. So I like to clown around about this information and really give people peace of mind so they can change their money behavior. But ultimately, I'd say share this video. I think that's the biggest thing. Share the community, share the opportunities that there, share the discussion that's happening is so important in the community. We need to talk more. We need to share more. It's a simple button, share. That's all it is. It's a button, it's like share. People make it seem like it's the hardest thing ever. Like, no, just share it and just walk away. You don't have to even say or caption anything. Just share. Have the discussion. So, because that's going to change our community. That's going to bring more wealth to us. That's going to bring more knowledge to us. So we're not hyper dependent on something that's going to come. Versus, let's fix what we have now so we can make this money.
Amen. Amen. That's good. You know what? Let me tell you, I read Lawrence's bio on his actual website, and I knew he was going to say something to get back. When I said, how can we help you? I knew he was going to say something like, help yourself, change your life. I just knew it. I knew it.
Because all our images are linked. It's like, and when somebody sees us, they see all of us. They don't see just one of us. They just see, hey, Lawrence is a black guy walking down the street. That's all he is. Like, so if everybody helps themselves, we just change our own image and we change who we are.
As a collective. Amen. Glory. Well, I think that's a wonderful way for me to transition into bringing all of the panelists back up for us to answer questions. Hey, look at all these beautiful people. Ooh, too much wonderfulness going on. All right. So we are going to answer questions. We have a few minutes. Here we go. So someone said, is Lawrence's website the Neighborhood Finance Guide? It's actually the Neighborhood Finance Guide. So yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and type that in to the YouTube chat. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put somebody's question up. They said, what advice would the panel give for students who have applied for 50 to 60 scholarships and either aren't hearing back or aren't receiving scholarships? So for India or Timothy, what is your advice for a student who is having this kind of situation?
India, I'll let you take that if you have anything first, and then I'll go.
Okay, you have to keep going. I think for me to get like 50,000 scholarships, I don't know. I probably applied to over 100. I didn't keep track. I don't keep track of the no's. I keep track of the yeses, and that's what that has to be your mentality of how you move forward. If you feel that you're not hearing back or you aren't receiving, then maybe reevaluate the quality of your essays and the quality of your letter of recommendations. It could be something as maybe your grammar might not be on par, or maybe just how you write your story. You have a bomb story, and but you're not telling it in a captivating way that really makes you stand out. So you might want to have another pair of eyes look at your essays and see what others think about it. But keep applying. Keep applying.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Awesome. Let me go ahead and highlight the next question. And I'll also be, if you see me looking to the side, I'm looking at Facebook to see if anybody has any questions there. Okay. So the next question is, not sure if you have these resources yet, but are there any recommendations for students searching for scholarships during COVID? So I'll go first. Then I think, Gigi, it might be good for you to chime in, because you're doing your thing, looking for stuff even in the midst of the pandemic. So I'll chime in first. So I have a nonprofit now. We had our last scholarship recipient in 2018. We gave out scholarships from 2003 to 2018. But one of the things that was really, really important to us is that we were very fiscally responsible. So we have money in the bank. We have all our money saved for the next few years for our nonprofit. So I say that to say there are definitely still organizations that are thriving during this time, that are giving out scholarships, that will continue to give out scholarships. If your child is a student of color, too, there are different scholarships for students who are minority students, and there are companies that are wanting to make sure that the community understands that they support like students of color in the community. So there's actually more money being put out for that. And then also when it comes to universities, this is something actually Gigi was telling me about. So some universities are having extra incentives, financial incentives for students to enroll into school, because they need them to go to school for a number of different reasons. So they're actually giving them more money to go to school. And there was another thing I was going to say lastly. Oh, so for some organizations, they're receiving grants. And I know Lawrence has experience with this too, working with government. There's some organizations that are receiving grants. They actually need to keep dispersing money in order for them to keep receiving grants from their funders. So there's still organizations that are dispersing money because they have to, in order to be able to, be in good graces with their funders. And there are definitely people who want to still impact the community during this time. Gigi raised in 8 weeks during the pandemic over $20,000. Gigi and her team raised over $20,000 through crowdfunding during the pandemic, so that she could pay off her balance, so that she could get back in school this fall after being out of school for a year. So there's money out here. But like India said and Timothy said, you have to work to get it, and you got to figure out who has it. So India, then Lawrence. Not India. Gigi, then Lawrence. Gigi, any thoughts that you have about still searching for money during this time?
I would definitely piggyback off of what she said before. Like, you just really have to keep going. And it was even brought to my attention, as I had stated, about the UNCF scholarships. I know about this because I go to different university, that they're geared towards HBCUs only. But when one of their ambassadors came out and they talked to us, they said a lot of the same things that India was saying. Like, you need to reevaluate your scholarship essays and make sure those things are captivating, right? So I would definitely say there are scholarships out here. I am still searching myself for the fall semester. So they're out there. I'm still applying, and I was taking to work.
Awesome. And Lawrence, what are your thoughts?
I was going to say what India said was actually pretty poignant. You got to count your yeses more than your nos. So sometimes, there are people going to say no, but in the end of the day, you just need that one person to say yes. So just keep going for it. Yes. But ultimately, I'd say for the private investors, even for Gigi as well, like private investors typically wait somewhere close to, the end of the year, so they could actually tabulate it with their taxes. That's why you see all the celebrities miraculously give out money, is because it's going to help them with their taxes. So you want to kind of position yourself in that situation around the December area. That's when you could be like, hey, give me some money, because then it's going to help them with their own taxes. Additionally, for the grants, I believe towards the end of the year, around September or even August, that's when people need to dish out money. And that's what you were talking about in regards to that. So they need to actually get rid of money so they could actually reapply for more grants. You can't keep reapplying for higher grants if you didn't reuse it last time.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, you want to get a little strategic with these guys. You want to get them when they're desperate.
And so nonprofits will basically, some of them who disperse scholarships will cease to exist if they're not operating in their mission, which is to give scholarships. So somebody's question on Facebook, and I'll have Timothy and India, you can answer this question along with, there's two questions here you can answer. There's one about what are the scholarship websites? A few people asked about that earlier when you both were talking, that you all mentioned that you found helpful when you were in high school. Because most students only know about fastweb.com and scholarship.com. And yeah. So let's talk about some other websites. And then the other question that's on Facebook is, what are some organizations that are providing disbursements? So we don't know because we're not applying for scholarships right now. The most of us, right? About who is right now dispersing scholarships. But what I would like to do is maybe Indy and Timothy, in addition to talking about the websites, a few websites people should look on, grad students too, doctoral students, med students, law students, y'all listen to these websites. So mention these websites, but then also mention maybe 3 to 5 scholarships that everyone should apply to. So what are some scholarship websites, and what are 3 to 5 scholarships that everybody should be applying to, in your opinion, even in the midst of the pandemic? So I guess I'll do Timothy, then India. So go ahead, Timothy.
Yeah, so definitely some resources in regards to applying to scholarships. I mentioned Scholly.com. They have a website, they have an app where you can look at different scholarships available for students. For the grad students, if you are looking at fellowship opportunities that offer scholarship programs, ProFellow is another good one as well. So those are two main resources that I would share with you. I also recommend looking at your financial aid website for both high school and college students that are currently enrolled. If you're in high school, look at the college that you're attending, their financial aid website. And if you're in college now, look at your current financial aid website because they have different listings of scholarships that are available and that are posted now and that are currently accepting applications, even in the midst of COVID. 5 different scholarship that are available that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know if this is 5, but
maybe 3 to 5.
Definitely Burger King scholars. India, I didn't know you're a Burger King scholar, so that's amazing. I was one too, so hey, fellow scholar. Also looking at local organizations, cities, counties, community organizations, Rotary clubs, fraternity sororities. Those organizations are so amazing in providing scholarship money to students. Definitely, they may be smaller amounts, but again, smaller amounts add up over time. To address the question that was said earlier about having 50 to 60 scholarships and you aren't hearing anything back, keep going, as India mentioned. And I want to share this quick quote. It says, "Do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can have what others don't." Do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can have what others don't. So keep going, and those are the resources that I would share with you.
Thank you. And India?
I would say for the grad students, med and law school, professional school period, look at so for law school, we have different bar associations per county. So usually bar associations will have their own scholarship. That's towards the end of the year. They'll have a gala with it. Med school, the different med school associations are the same. So what I did was I looked at all of the bar associations in Florida and figured out how did I meet the qualifications. And some I didn't because I didn't live in Tallahassee. I was like, oh darn it, I can't apply to that one. But the other ones I did, and that's how I won a lot of them. And then attorneys in Florida, that's how they knew me. Because they're like, oh, did you just win this one a week? I did, yes, and I'm here for this one. So that's one thing to say up on. I will say the search engines personally for me when I was in high school, I used some of the search engines, but I used my own personal demographics and I just continued Googling and Googling because this was my logic. If I continued using FastWeb or Scholarship America, then every year, every high school student's probably also going to that same database. So my logic was, let me find scholarships that aren't necessarily popping out when I go to a database. And that was just more so taking my background, writing it down, and typing the word scholarship at the end, and then seeing if I met those those requirements. I will also give one piece of advice. I don't have 5 scholarships off the top of my head, but you follow me at the Art of Scholarships, you'll get them this week. How about that? But my one piece of advice is be very cautious about sharing your scholarships when you do win them, especially in the high school level, because I had just won the Coca-Cola scholarship and I was very excited. It was $10,000 and everybody's like, whoa. And I was in the running for, Timothy, when you said the Rotary Club, I was in the running for the Key Club scholarship, Kiwanis Key Club. And it was $10,000 and it was between me and another student. And I actually won the scholarship. But they came, before they told him he won it, they came to me and pulled me aside and said, because you won Coca-Cola, we're going to give it to him because he doesn't have any scholarships. And so I had the merit, I interviewed the vets, and they actually told me I won it, but they did not give it to me because I had one. And mind you, Wake Forest is like $59,000 a year, so I felt like I deserved that $10,000. That was my one personal experience when I felt like I was robbed of a scholarship, but I thought that was a valuable lesson. That as you're applying for this, make sure that, of course, your counselors will need to know, and maybe your teachers will need to know, but you don't have to share with everybody. Let them find out at senior night. So that way you're not in the position that I was in where scholarship was taken from me because I had already won a different one. So that's my piece of advice.
Can I add to India right quick? Because that last tidbit there is amazing. My mom always said, don't tell anybody your next move, right? So literally senior awards night and how I had the $40,000 in scholarship money, everyone came up to my mom afterwards and was like, how did Timothy get those scholarships? He never said anything. So keep your information to yourself, keep applying to those scholarships, and at the end of the day, don't give up. India, that scholarship program that they said that they were going to give to another student, your value does not lie in that. So you have accomplished so much more than that. So that scholarship, if it wasn't for you, it just wasn't meant for you. Keep pushing, and I'm so proud of you for that as well. So
thank you.
Yeah.
That was so good. We're wrapping up now. I'm gonna see if anybody has any more questions. We might do one more question if anybody has one, and if not, we'll start wrapping up. So I just wanted to say 2 things. One, also be like, if you're a parent and you have a student, or if you're a student, make sure that you advocate for yourself. There were 2 scholarships that I got, and they didn't give them to me. One had a big award ceremony and everything, and I was on a PowerPoint. It was at a university. I was in high school, and they were giving me money, and I was so excited. But then the money never came. So I emailed them, and I emailed them, and I emailed them, and the person was like, "Look, I'm going through a lot right now. We don't have the money." And I was like, "Oh." It was a whole ceremony. That was really bad. So for my scholarship recipients, they get their money every semester right on time, early sometimes, because I'm like, some people don't follow through, which is not good, and we have to advocate for our kids. And then there was another scholarship that was going to be a computer, and my mom showed up there to get the computer, and they never gave it to me. So make sure that you're advocating for yourself, or that you have an adult who's advocating for you so that you get what you need. Okay, number 2. Lawrence, here's what I want you to catch this. Lawrence went from, I said it a few times already, negative $100,000, right, to over $100,000 in net worth. There are some people right now who are listening who feel like because you have a student loan, you can't live your life anymore. Like, life is over. Nothing's going to work out for you. You're never going to be able to afford anything. I still don't remember the number because Lawrence said it again, but he went to a whole bunch of countries in a few days. He has a house. Lawrence gives back. Lawrence works for the government in an amazing job. And I saw somewhere too, he went from making like $21,000 a year in some job to over $100,000 a year. Come on, somebody. So I just want to let you know. And he's young. He just got engaged. Him and his fiance paying off each other's debt. The money's just flowing. So I just want you to know that if you have debt, there's still life to be lived by you. It's okay. But you need to make sure you rewatch, especially Lawrence's part about paying off debt, if that's where you're at, so that you know that there's hope. So we're gonna do a laser round. Everybody who is on the panel, before, let me see if there's any last questions. So, okay. Oh yes, let me see. Somebody said, is that also for adults? I don't know what they were referring to, but a lot of what was talked about today, I think, is can be beneficial for adults. And Timothy and India also commented on 2 resources I want to also shout out for the adults. Profellows.com. Tim said, I had never heard of that before. And it's a website where you can find fellowships. I just looked it up. So please, if you're an adult, profellows.com. India said bar associations. I had no idea bar associations gave out scholarships. She got local, state, and national scholarships for law school. So definitely check out bar associations if that is your area. All right, so lightning round, 30 seconds or less. What is one of the biggest takeaways that you think people should take away from tonight? Every panelist, one at a time, in 30 seconds or less. Let me go. I'm going to go in the order that I see on the screen. So, Lawrence, yay, Lawrence, what is one of the biggest takeaways you think people should take away from tonight?
Biggest takeaway really goes back to what Timothy and then what he said about what India's struggles were. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a purpose. Sometimes those no's end up being your story, and that story ends up catapulting you to something bigger and even better than that. So I think part of that, those little struggles that we have, Geraldine, your story is more important than the actual thing that's happening right now, because down the line, that's going to make you money. So every one of us have a story. So just nurture that story, understand that moment, and really think beyond.
That's good, Lawrence. Thank you so much. I'll have Gigi go next. Gigi, what do you think is one of the greatest takeaways that people need to take away from tonight?
Use your resources, networking got me to paying off my balance. You know, if it wasn't for me sharing my story in this Facebook group, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I still would have that door shut. The door would not be open, and moving forward to the next step of graduating in November, like network and resource and using your resources, as some of the panelists said today. Use those advisors. Definitely reach out to, if you're currently in college, you reach out to your financial aid department. You will get no's, we know it happens, but try. Like, you know, I always say it's better to at least have tried than to, you know, not try at all. So
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Timothy, what advice would you have for us?
Yeah, so advice I would share with you all, I would say keep pushing. Do not give up. If you have applied to 100 scholarships and haven't heard anything, do not give up. Someone will eventually believe and see your potential. Give back to others. So the information that you are hearing tonight, share it with someone else. After you've gotten tons and thousands of scholarships, let other people know how they too can obtain the scholarships that you got through your applications. Again, I'm so thankful to be on this call and sharing this information with you all. Currently looking for opportunities in criminal justice public sector fields, so that's definitely a way that you all could help me. And overall, thank you again for this call, and Daphne, thank you for supporting this as well.
My absolute pleasure, no problem. And India, what is one of the greatest takeaways that you want people to take away from today's call?
The easiest part about this process is actually finding scholarships. The hardest part is writing the essay and making sure that you stand out. So you need to spend more time writing your essay. And as Lauren said, everyone has a story. It's your time to tell your story, and only you can tell your story. So if that means being creative, I've started scholarship essays off with an imaginary scenario in my head. I've italicized, I've played with the text before. I've used the quote and connected the quote throughout the story. I've done everything to be able to tell my story in a captivating way that when they put my paper down and they walk away for the day, they're still thinking about India. That's how you win. It's not just applying, like you can apply, but that's like going to the mall and just putting out a whole bunch of applications for different jobs. But your goal is to be in it to win it. So you have to write like you mean it. And if you are struggling with that, if you need help with that, you can find me at the Art of Scholarships on Instagram and also on Gmail, and I can help you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I want to thank all of you all for joining today, this call. We really, really appreciate your time. The people in the comments, they really, really appreciate all the gems you all were dropping. We had high school students, again, I saw high school students submit questions, parents submit questions, other professionals who have loans right now to be really excited about the information that was offered. So I really, really appreciate every single one of you. I am going to go ahead and keep Gigi on the screen as I sign up, as we sign off for today. She doesn't know that I'm going to do this. So Gigi is the reason why, what brought me here to do this presentation today. So basically there was a group of women. I'm gonna tell this story just as we wrap up. There's a group of women, I'm gonna make sure I don't forget any names, a whole bunch of people who support Gigi, over 100 people who supported her in her campaign, but a group of women, Erica, Christine, Tanisha Bradley, Gina Anna, Brandy, Charisma Lori, Ashante Williamson, who came together, mostly strangers, in order to support her during this time in her life so that she could get back into school. I had no idea who Gigi was 8 weeks ago. And every week, multiple days a week, I and these other women have been working to try to help her to be able to get to college. So there are a few things that I want you all to take from that and from what people have shared today. And panelists, I'm going to bring you up on the screen because I also love you and I want you to hear this. So panelists, bringing you back up. So number one takeaway, it takes a village. It takes a village. It takes a village. If before this call you had been drowning in debt, did you hear what Lawrence said? We're trying to help Lawrence. Like, what you need? Money, clients? Like, what do you need? He was like, just help yourself. Like, just help yourself with the advice that I'm giving. It takes a village. Timothy Hill gave India encouragement. India has law school. Timothy just graduating from his master's degree program. And he was like, look, India, let me pour into you right now. Let me change your life right now through giving you some advice. It takes a village. When I hear Gigi's friends, her line sisters, talk about her, they speak highly about her love, her care. She was president of NCNW, president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, chapter on her campus. It takes a village. And if you look at any one of these people's profiles that are on the screen right now, you'll see their commitment to helping others. So what I want you all to do is, anybody who's watching, one, commit to helping yourself. Because when you help yourself, you can help others, right? And then two, also commit to helping others in some sort of way. So if you can support anyone who's on the call today, Gigi is enrolling in school after being a year out of school. We raised over $20,000. She has a little over 7,000, actually less than 7,000. I think it's around 5,000 something.
5,858 left.
5,858 to raise. If you find it in your heart to be a blessing to her, the URL is below. Support her. Support that campaign. She can register, but then she has to make sure she can pay tuition. So her campaign is still going strong. We have India. India just launched her organization. You can see that she's committed to helping. She posts free information and scholarships. The only place I thought I could go to get scholarships is my counselor and FastWeb. So India is posting free scholarship information, free scholarships. We have the Neighborhood Finance Guy. What a wonderful name, because that's, if you get to know Lawrence, that's his personality. He just wanna help you to be better in your finances. So I mean, please support his efforts, but his efforts are basically supporting you. So support yourself through supporting his efforts. And then of course we have Timothy. Over 70% of jobs, and this is for Gigi too, from when she graduated. Gigi is currently a CNA because Gigi has a lot of perseverance and resilience in her. So even though she's been out of school for a year, she still managed to be working at a hospital, which is not an easy job to get. Was a patient care tech, just passed her CNA exam, currently a CNA. After she graduates, going to nursing school, right? So advice for Gigi and other folks, over 70% of jobs are attained by networking. So if you could contact him, give him some advice, connect him to some people, please do that in order to support the village. So I appreciate every single person who's watching, every single person who's on the screen right now for all that you've been able to contribute today. And again, a huge thank you. We're about to close out for today to everybody who was watching and everybody who is on screen. Thank you so much for all of you. All right. I'm about to end the broadcast, everybody. Bye.